Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Women in Trades, the 4%. I'm super excited. Today we have our first carpenter here with us. Her name is Crystal. She's a journeyman carpenter, an artist, and she is going to kick us off and start us by telling us how long she's been in her trade and what got her started.
Yeah, so I've been in the trades for about 10 years now. I didn't really have any knowledge or experience before I started in the trades. And it's kind of an interesting story how I got in the trades, I guess you could say. So, back in 2012, I actually was released from prison. And, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know, what direction I was going. And I was having a really hard time finding a job. Like nobody, wanted to hire an ex-convict. And I was kind of basically I had to find a job or I would go back to prison. That was kind of where I was at with my probation.
Yeah.
And I had the option of going to school. So I was so I remember the defining day, exactly. So I had an interview at Kentucky Fried Chicken and I was so nervous because all my other interviews went bad and I had a week to either find a job or go to school or I was basically screwed. And the guy interviewing pulled out a tape recorder and started asking me these crazy questions and I just froze up and couldn't answer any of the questions and I literally left the fucking interview in tears and I was like, I can't believe I'm crying over a Kentucky Fried Chicken job.
My
I
gosh.
was just oh my god. So it was that point in my life where I was like, you know what, I want something better for myself. I want, to go back to school. I want to do something, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I went to my local community college and I looked at the trades programs. I looked at automotive, welding, and carpentry. And I was like, gosh, I don't know anything about any of these. I don't know. I was like, carpentry seems because I'm super artistic, maybe that would it was carpentry or welding. I was kind of on couldn't really decide. And I went with carpentry and, I joined it was a pre-apprenticeship college program, a 2-year program there.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I just, I started doing it and it took me a while to catch on. I'm not going to lie, but I couldn't even read a tape measure when I started. I had to learn how to use all the tools. There was the first quarter where I was yeah, I don't know if this is the right choice for me. But once it started to catch on, it was it just pretty much went from there.
Yeah.
So
I love that because I was the same way. I knew nothing. So, that it just proves that you do not have to have
yeah,
experience with tools or anything because I absolutely had none. And it also took me a little while to catch
yeah,
on, but once you get it, if you get it, it clicks and things
yeah.
become a lot easier.
Yeah, you just have to give it that chance, because I feel a lot of people they try it for a little while and then they just quit and you gotta give it more than that, you know what I mean? It took me months to get it down and once I started to get it down, I was like, oh, this is really awesome. I could totally see myself doing this long term.
Yeah.
So
So, did you have any family or anything that worked in the trades that inspired you, or was it just you knew that you needed to find a good job and that was that was that?
yeah, I had no family. I have no family that I know of that are in the trades. And it was just kind of I was just kind of winging it.
Yeah.
I knew that I didn't want to sit behind a desk and, do that. And I knew I didn't really want to work fast food or anything like that either. So that it was intriguing. It seemed fun. And I've
Yeah.
always kind of been more of a hands-on person anyways. So
Are
yeah.
you with a union currently right now?
So I actually went through after the pre-apprenticeship program. I went through the Carpenters Union apprenticeship and I
Mhm.
completed that. And up until last year, actually, I was in the union and now I'm doing non-union work now. So,
Nice. I also am non-union.
oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So what kind of job sites do you generally work on? What do you build?
So pretty much, well, most of my career until up to this last year, it was more commercial high-rise buildings. So just I've done a little bit of everything. I mean, I've done framing, concrete, finish work. I've really been able to do pretty much everything. At least dip my feet in a little bit. But right now, currently, I do more residential remodels and smaller jobs. And it's a lot different than what I'm used to
Yeah.
and I like it. I really do enjoy it. So
The residential versus commercial is definitely like two completely different worlds because I do like industrial and commercial, like
yeah,
hardly anything that you would even do in a residential house as far as like piping and stuff goes.
yeah,
So for me, like I almost wish that I did that more so I knew like how to do my own house basically because while I know that I could probably learn if I put the time in, like
yeah.
I don't want my house to be my guinea pig, but at the same time it would be really cool to like be able to say I did it myself. So I'm gonna try to like do what I can
Oh
myself
yeah,
on, but
totally. Yeah.
yeah, but it is two completely different worlds for sure.
Oh yeah, it really is. And I definitely say like with the union too, like I had a lot more opportunity for like really unique jobs. Like I've done like some really, really unique jobs, like just restoring like historical buildings and stuff like that, that are like a lot of fun
Yeah.
versus what I'm doing now is just more like apartments and houses and, you know, retail spaces and stuff like that. But either way, I mean, I enjoy all of it. So
So what got you into the art aspect of carpentry? Because, and I'll like insert some in the video so the viewers can see and you guys can look up her
awesome.
Instagram. I'll make sure that I tag her in the bio for this description. But like what got you started on art? Like what inspired you to do that and when did you learn like I'm actually good at this and I should do this?
So, I bought my like nicer scroll saw a couple years back, and so it was funny. So I was actually like with the guys at lunch one day at work, and I don't even know where the conversation we're talking about art or just whatever. And one of the guys was like, "You would probably really like a scroll saw," and I had never even heard of a scroll saw before, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, so I googled it, looked it up. I was like, oh, yeah, this looks pretty sweet. Like I can make some pretty cool stuff with this because I've always been like an artsy person. I've always, you know, I did painting and jewelry making and just different things. And
Same. I feel like we have a lot in common.
oh,
Like,
really? That's
yeah.
awesome. Do you paint?
I was very into painting for a while, and then when I first started welding and had time in the shop, I would make like little welding sculptures and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's my goal. Like with I bought my house this year and I want to have a shop so I can like make art and do little weld jobs and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so fun to like just like because you're taking your skills from work home and
Yeah.
like I mean, they just kind of both go hand in hand, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I
Yep.
bought that little scroll saw and like a little cheap, like $100 scroll saw, and I started playing with it. I was like, this is really cool. Like, I started making little things, and then, yeah, a couple years ago, I was like, I'm just gonna buy the big one, and it kind of just went from there. I mean, there's a lot of like inspiration on Instagram, you know, of makers that are making some pretty sweet stuff, and I feel like I kind of got inspired from them to go
Yeah.
further with it, you know?
So, anyways, so back to your art. So you go to like art shows and stuff too, I've seen.
Yeah, so this last year I've just been trying to like kind of get more involved in the art world. With my new job, I'm kind of able to do that more. My schedule's a little different, so I'm able to spend more time on my art, which I absolutely love. It's kind of part of the reason why I switched over. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I just when I started carpentry, I like years back, I considered going to like art school or something along the lines of that, but it just wasn't really realistic. Like it was really far from me. I didn't have a car. Like it just didn't really seem realistic at the time. But now I'm at a place in my life where I can, you know, pursue both and do both. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that because I believe the last episode we were just talking about how like and I think it was an electrician and she was also artistic and felt that she brings like a lot of art to like all her conduit that she runs and when
Oh
she like
yeah.
so I love that we all find like an artistic perspective like in our jobs and I feel like we also like with that we work to always make sure we're doing quality because we see it as like an art form and it's
Yeah.
awesome that we can take it outside of work and also like create cool things for people and
Yeah.
for ourselves.
Yeah, totally. I mean, honestly, I feel like if I had never been in the trades, like I probably would have never even pursued what I'm doing now with the art. So
Yeah.
it really just does go hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one and another thing like going back to how you first started. I have a friend on TikTok who also she got out of prison and needed a good job I know I'm not a felon, but I can imagine, like, it's hard with a felony or with any background, like, to find most, like, regular jobs,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but the trades, like, 9 times out of 10, they do not care if you have a felony,
Yeah.
like so it's
No.
always a really good option for people who do have a background or record of any kind.
Yeah, and they actually have like, well, when I was locked up, they didn't have like really trade programs or anything that you had access to, but now because they do. So I went back to the prison I was at a few years ago and I spoke to the women there, and there's actually a program they have there for the trades, and like I was surprised to see like how many women raised their hand. They're like, "Yeah, I'm in that program." And like how inspired they were to see someone, come out and be successful in that. And I think it's huge for men and women, that are at that point in their life where they want to do something different, to have that opportunity to, make a good living and, do what's right. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely, and the company I work for, we for a few years, we were hiring, like, multiple people right out of, like, welding programs and stuff out of jails and prisons, like, trying to
Okay.
give them a
That's
second
cool.
chance, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it is, like, a good thing to be doing, and not only for, like, people in prison, but for, like, anyone who really, like, struggles to find a job. It's an open option, and the trades are really needed right now, like, people are
Oh,
needed so bad.
they really are. Yeah.
What would you say that your biggest challenge has been so far throughout your career?
For me personally, I would say just like starting out and, going to an actual job site and just learning like the ins and outs and like the terminology and just everything that comes along with that. Being the only woman on the job. I mean, it can be a lot. Like if you're brand new and like you don't have prior experience and you're just out there and you're trying to learn everything, and you may not work around the nicest people all the time, that are
Yeah.
willing to show you the ins and outs. And I think that just overcoming that is huge for anyone. I think that was definitely my biggest challenge just in the beginning there, just trying to figure out if this was going to work for me.
Yeah, I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
I was lucky, like, my first job, people were, like, pretty willing to teach me, and I was able to catch on pretty quickly. We were doing simple things for a while, though, because it was a job that had just started, so it was,
Yeah.
like, torching holes in the floor so
Yeah.
pipes can go up for literally, like, weeks and weeks and weeks. Because like, as at the start of our apprenticeship especially, you're kind of, like, doing the bottom of the barrel work that the
Oh yeah.
journeymen don't wanna
Totally.
do.
Yeah.
So,
Always.
yeah, that was, like, the reality of starting my apprenticeship was learning and trying to, like, figure everything out, and a lot of repetitive torching and
Oh yeah.
cutting holes in the floor basically for weeks on end.
Yeah, I caulked windowsills in a high-rise tower for like 2 months straight one time, and I was just like, I never want to like use a caulking gun again. Like,
Yeah.
it was like torture.
My first year
So
of apprenticeship, we had this kid in our class, and every week they'd be like, "What are you guys doing?" And we'd all be like, "Oh, we're sweating copper, like running PVC, like putting holes in the floor." But
yeah.
like, it would change. And this kid, he'd be like, "I'm grouting." And then like the second month in, like they asked, like, "What are you guys doing?" And he's still grouting. And then it's like the third month in, like, "What are you guys doing?" And he's still grouting, and, like, eventually he
Oh my
ended
god.
up quitting, which, like, I do not blame him one bit because who had this poor kid just only grouting
Oh
for
my god, just
literally
grouting all the
no, because
time.
that becomes a point that it's, like, too repetitive. After a
Yeah.
certain point,
Oh yeah.
they should have contracted that out because why are we spending so much time grouting?
Yeah, totally. God, that would be terrible.
Yeah, that's insane, like, we did have to I had to spend all day grouting on Friday, and I'm like, "I feel like I'm too good for this, low key," but it
I
all
know,
pays
right?
the same. Sometimes I have to remind myself it all pays the same,
Yeah. Yep,
even though I'm like,
totally.
"Why am I doing this?"
I feel the same way all the time where I'm like, okay, well. You know, it does. It all pays the same, and someone's got to do it. I'm the one, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, what does this have to do with pipe fitting? Literally
yeah.
nothing, I
I
guess.
know,
But
right? Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
so what has been your biggest success so far in your career?
Yeah, so last year, or yeah, 2023, I was actually promoted. I was with this company for like 7 or 8 years. They're great. And I was actually promoted to the first woman superintendent that they had ever had. And they were like one of Seattle's top contractors, and it was like a pretty big deal and a huge honor. And I didn't really know if I wanted that position for a number of reasons. I like the more hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
And coming, with that kind of job, you're doing more meetings and, managing the jobs and stuff like that. So I did it. I took the position. I couldn't really say no. It was just like a pretty big honor for me to get
Yeah.
to that point in my career sooner than I had expected. And I did it. I did it for a while, and I was right. I didn't love it. I was sitting in meetings all day. I was just like managing like the subcontractors and just a lot of things that were hands on. And there was actually a few points during that time where people were like, no, like you're not doing the hands on stuff, like you need to do this and this. And I'm just like, okay, well, I did it, I tried it, and I actually left and went to this other job that I'm doing now, or to a different company. I left that company and went to this company
Yeah.
for a number of reasons. There were some family reasons, things I had going on with my family, and I just wanted to pursue my art more, and I wanted to continue doing the hands-on work. And I am a lot happier now. I'm not like just working all the time. I actually have time to be at home, with my family and doing my art and stuff like that. So that was my hugest accomplishment like ever so far. And it's the strangest thing to get to that point and then realize that's not what you want.
Yeah.
It was like I had to like put my pride aside and like step out of that and say, no, this is not what I want to do. I want to, keep doing the hands-on stuff. So it was a good experience overall.
I I I like that perspective because when I was going through my apprenticeship, we had the president of the company that I work for and that I worked for at the time. He like really wanted me to be their first female foreman. Like I think he just wanted to be able to say that they had a female foreman because
Yeah.
it's super rare. Like I don't know a
Yeah.
single one in pipe fitting in Michigan. Like I'm sure maybe
Oh
there's
yeah.
some out there. And, like, that was his goal for me, and at first it was my goal also, but then I learned how to weld, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I just wanna be a welder and a fitter, like, I like working, I like to be friends with the guys, I don't wanna have to boss them around and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is no longer the president of the company, I'm not gonna go into that so I don't get sued or fired,
Yeah.
but my boss like had a conversation with me a few months ago and he's like, "Do you want to be a foreman? Do you want to be in charge?" And I was like, "Honestly, like I thought that maybe that was what I wanted at one time, but anymore like I don't know. Like I would not mind doing it on smaller jobs, which is
Yeah.
what I prefer working on anyways, where we have a crew of like 4 or 5 people maximum. That would be
Yeah.
fine, but I do not wanna run, like, a 20-person crew, like, new construction at a hospital or something like that, especially not
Yeah.
at this point in my career because 'cause I'm 5 years in, 5
Yeah.
and a half, but I so they gave me a little bit of responsibility, they made me, like, a lead at our last shutdown, like, I basically split, like, being the foreman with another guy, and I took care of, like, all the plant relations, all of the paperwork,
Yeah.
hot works, work permits, like, everything,
Yeah.
and it was freaking stressful, like,
Oh
everyone's
yeah.
like, "How'd it go?" Everyone said you did really good, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I did, but, like, it was too stressful." I don't
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what I want, especially, like, at a shutdown when it's like you have 4 days to do this work, like, that's it, like,
Yeah.
it
Oh yeah.
it's a lot.
It is. It's so stressful. Like when I left the job that I was doing, I was working on like this brand new, like super high end high rise. It was hotels and condos. And I was managing the finishes in these like $1 million condos. And this is like
Yeah.
a 28-story building. And it was like I was stressed out every day. I worked late every single day. Like I felt like I was just thinking about work on the weekend. Like I just like it was just so much, and I like was losing interest in my art. I hardly had time like for my family. I was just like I felt like I was working around like a lot of zombies too, like at work. Like all I was mostly I was more around like the office people than I was the people in the field, and it's like
Yeah.
totally different, like night and day. And I felt like kind of out of place. Like everyone was really cool and like everything like that, but I just felt like I was in the wrong place. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I was like, this is not for me. I'm glad that I did it. Like I'm glad I took the opportunity and I tried it, but just so I can say like, I tried it at least and I don't regret it. But yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone. Some people prefer to do the hands-on work, and that's me. I mean, and that's probably you too.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. Like I do not want to be with the politics and all the stress and the meetings and the paperwork, like the
Things.
emails. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely not. So where do you see yourself in your career in the next 10 years?
Uh, Well, it's kind of like a weird question for me because like if you would have asked me that question like a year ago, like before I got that promotion, I'd be like, in the next 10 years, like maybe I'll be a superintendent, blah blah blah. Now I just see myself, I'm kind of like the lead and the boss like where I'm at, but it's super
Yeah.
small time. Like there's like only a couple people and I mean, it's nothing like before. I guess I just see myself, just building, keep doing what I'm doing and keep pursuing my art, keep going to art shows. I'd like to, you know, be like part-time artist, part-time carpenter, like actually making good money off both, not
Yeah.
just the carpenter side of it. So really like my goals have really just shifted more to the art side of things just because I feel like I accomplished my ultimate goal in the trades. So I kind of just shifted everything around to kind of, my goals are more towards art now, I guess.
It's funny because I almost feel in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like once I became journeyman, and I never planned to be a welder, so
Okay.
also getting my welding certs, that
Yeah.
was, like, such a great achievement to me, and then becoming a journeyman, and then I
Yeah.
was in the same boat. I thought maybe I wanted to be like a welder or something.
Yeah.
Or not a welder, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I wanted to be like a foreman or something, and now I'm just not so sure that that's the plan for me, so I'm thinking maybe down the road, like project management or something, but like when I'm old. So
Yeah, that's totally the same for me. Like when like my back is just not taking anymore, and
exactly.
then like more of a desk job is probably good. But right now, like I'm still young, like I have plenty of time to keep building and keep doing what I love. So
Absolutely.
save that stuff for when I'm older. So, like, so do you do like some art with welding? I don't think I've seen it on your Instagram.
I did when I first was learning how to weld, so probably about 2 years ago now. I would have extra time here and there, and I
Yeah.
would build, like, spider webs out of filler metal or just, like,
Oh
cute little
yeah.
things, but that's really my ultimate goal, and that's why I bought my house. I have a garage and stuff, but I don't have power ran out there, so that's the next step to get it
Yeah.
turned into a working welding shop for me because I
Yeah.
have people hit me up for welding jobs all the time and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
could, but I don't have my own stuff
Stops.
yet. And then to go like to my shop is like an hour away right now for my work and
Yeah.
yeah, I've also kind of been trying to, I'm happy with where I'm at in my job right now, so I've been
Yeah.
trying to focus on social media and obviously this podcast, which is like
Yeah.
turning into a brand really
Awesome.
quickly.
Yeah.
It's been awesome, which like shout out to everyone who's listened and who's supported on the website and stuff because the response has been I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it is this quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, it's been really awesome so far. I'm really excited to talk to everyone else and like just see where it goes.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to see more episodes. So
Yeah. And also getting the word out there. There's been so many people already who are like, "Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to join a trade, but I don't know which one." And I'm like, "Well, here you can listen to what all these women do in different trades." And
yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you're our first carpenter, so
I feel like if I would have been able to have access to something like that, like when I started, like it probably, I mean, who knows? I mean, I feel like it really would have made an impact on me. Maybe I wouldn't have felt so unsure about everything at first or, whatever, but there wasn't like a lot of that. I feel like 10 years ago, like it was, I don't,
not
yeah.
even 5 years ago. I never like knew a tradeswoman or knew of a woman in trades like before I started. And then
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah.
and I see a few like here and there. Do you ever see women on other sites really?
Yeah. I mean, here and there, like when I was working on like the larger commercial jobs, like that 28-story building, like there was probably like a handful of women. Like there was
Yeah.
like I remember there was like a plumber, an electrician, uh, there was a carpet installer lady. I mean, there was different, but it was literally like a handful, and
Yeah.
there's hundreds of people on this job. So what does that say
Mhm.
right there? I mean, there's not a lot.
Exactly. And
So
it's
I
like until you get on a really big job like that, you normally don't see one. Like
no.
I've worked whole yeah.
Yeah, when I was going through the apprenticeship too, like there would be like when I would go to class, there a lot of times there was like 3 to 5 other women in the class, but I would never see them on the job. So I'm like, where are you guys all working? Because I never see you anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it was for me too. I had two other women in the apprenticeship with me when I started. But I never worked with them, and then they both ended up leaving the company. So I'm like,
Mm,
well, but I see like here and there, but it's so rare unless I'm on a
yeah,
really big job, and then there might be a couple, but I never even get to work
yeah,
around them or talk to them. So
yeah. Like I never actually like work with I've like other carpenter like when I see like the other trades, but like it's been very. I'm trying to think if I've even ever worked with like a carpenter chick like on the same job like from the same company as me. Usually
mhm.
they're like the other women are like in the office or doing something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
We have a lot of office ladies too. I love
yeah,
our office ladies though.
yeah.
They're always so nice to me. They're always so much nicer to me than they are to the men, and I love it. I'm like, "Yes,
Yeah,
queen."
same experience there.
They're always like, "Come in my office and talk to me." Like, "Girl, I have to work," but okay. So, if you could give one piece of advice to a woman or to anyone wanting to start out in the trades, what would it be?
I would just say, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I mean, everybody at one point in their life, started had to start brand new, at what you're doing, and mistakes are going to happen, I when I was at the end of my apprenticeship, I literally drilled through a walls hanging a shelf in a finished unit, and I fucking drilled into a water line, right? And I like shit myself because I was just like, that was like my worst fear. I made it my whole apprenticeship without any like really big fuck ups or anything, and I drilled in the water line, and it wasn't the end of the world, My foreman came, we handled it, and we laughed about it later. The plumber literally cut the copper line and gave me the little piece that had the hole in it. And I look back at that now and I'm just like, I can laugh at it, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
everybody makes mistakes. And at the end of the day, you're just going to learn from that mistake, and it's going to make you, better as a person. And when you get to that point in your career where you're the boss, just don't forget where you came from, basically, treat people the way you want to be treated, kind of, you know what I mean? And that really makes like if there's an apprentice out there and they're struggling and making mistakes, I see it all the time. Foremen will like talk down to them or act like they're stupid, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you were in their shoes at one time,
Yeah.
I could never understand that. When I got to that point in my career where I was at a higher level, I always remind people, hey, don't be afraid to make mistakes. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out. Ask questions, we're all just learning here. There's trades are never ending. Like, you will never know everything in the
Nope.
trades. So, I mean, it's a
I
never
tell
ending
people
journey.
that. I'm like, if you didn't learn something, you need to learn something every day. And if you didn't learn something new today, you weren't doing anything. Like you weren't working hard enough,
Yeah.
basically.
Except the guy that was grouting.
Yeah, except the guy that was grouting. Poor him.
The poor
My
guy.
God. I hope he's doing good. I hope he's not still grouting somewhere to this day.
Oh no. Oh no.
No, it's really great advice though to say about the mistakes because
Yeah.
it like when I first started, it really sticks with me. An old guy told me, don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's nothing you can do that we can't fix,
Yeah.
which like you still want to be careful, but for the most part, there's nothing you can fuck up bad enough that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you do fuck something up, you'll probably end up laughing about it with your crew eventually because 9 times out of 10, it does end up turning into a funny story. Like I know we
Oh,
all
yeah.
have some.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And it just makes us better at the end of the day. So
Yeah. And the apprentice that actually tried and did something will always be recognized before the apprentice that stood there all day doing nothing because they didn't know and they were scared to ask or scared to make a mistake. So
yep.
it's always
For
best to
sure.
try. And if you don't know, ask
Oh
because a
yeah,
lot
that's
of
huge.
times those the older guys, they love teaching you if you ask and you show interest.
Totally, yeah. I
They
mean, nine
live
times
for
out of
that.
10, I'd say most of the people I've worked with have, occasionally get like the asshole that's just like doesn't want to help you, but that's everywhere in life. That's at any job, you know what I mean? Not just the trades. That's you're gonna, that's just life.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, people want to help and want to, see you grow.
I
So,
still, like, to this day, sometimes they wanna help me, like, too much, and I'm like, "Dude, I know you're just trying to help,
oh
but
my gosh, yeah, yeah.
I got
Sometimes it can be
this."
annoying.
Yeah, like, there's the few that they just try to help too much, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta love them
It's
though.
like you gotta back off a little. I got this. Like,
Yeah.
oh
Well, I think that we had a really good talk today.
yeah. I'm so glad we did this.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me. Crystal makes some really amazing art. I'm sure that I'll post it throughout the video, but make sure you guys check out her Instagram so you can see her art. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a really great time talking to you today, and
Yeah.
we will catch you all on the next episode.
See ya.